Welcome to Ion Franchising, where you will learn the A to Z's of franchise. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another fabulous episode of Ion Franchising. I'm your host, Lance Graulich. So today, people say health is wealth, and I absolutely believe that. I'm not young anymore, but I got to hit the gym 6 days a week. So today, we are going to talk about fitness and franchising. And my guest is an author. He's a host of his own podcast called Fuel Your Drive. And he's the founder and CEO of the largest personal training company in the world, Josh York. Welcome to the show, Josh.
Thank you so much, Lance. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, Josh, let's start with way back when. How did little Josh become this big dynamo in fitness franchising?
Hunger, right? Drive, never taking no for an answer and never settling at number two. The only number I like is number one. And, I've always been into fitness. I always love helping people. I always like to compare a personal trainer to a doctor. You eat what you kill, right? And at the end of the day, the most successful doctors are doctors that have practices and have multiple doctors working under them. And the same thing, goes with the personal training world, but no one's ever been able to professionalize the service or create this category. And for me, I've always been in health and fitness, and I graduated college, and they tell you you're supposed to get a 9-to-5 job, and it would have been amazing if I was able to get a 9-to-5 job working with someone like myself, but I'm working in this negative environment with no opportunity, nowhere to grow, and I said I can't do this. This is crazy. I started looking at like statistics. It's an actual stat that 85% of people drive to work every day committing spiritual suicide. They're miserable. They hate Mondays. They love Fridays. And I was like, I can't live like this. So, I was very successful as a personal trainer, making, high six figures as a personal trainer at the age of 16, 17 years old, all the way through to before I started GYMGUYZ when I was about 25. And one of my clients came in late one day and said, Josh, I wish you can come to my house. I just don't have any equipment. And I just kept thinking about there's so many franchises out there, like so simple, like a cleaning franchise. Like, how hard is it to get a car, throw a couple pieces of cleaning supplies in there, some rags, mops, some fluid, liquids, whatever you need, and go out and clean houses. But they created a system, they created, a process. And I said, that's what I'm going to do. I came up with the name GYMGUYZ. GYMGUYZ stands for, it's an acronym. It says, get you motivated, goals uniquely yours, zero excuses. We're going to go out, service clients anywhere, from their home office, pool, park, place of worship, corporations, literally anywhere. We bring the workout to you. We service over 1,000 cities in the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom. And we're just getting started. And I like to always say the next 10 years, we will be the largest fitness brand in the world. You mark my words on that. And it's super exciting. It's great to make a living, but it's much better to make a difference. And that's the business we're in, is helping people.
I love it. That is absolutely fantastic. So when you got started, where did you come up with the idea of actually franchising? You mentioned the cleaning franchise, and that's a great model, obviously. I mean, there's so many great franchise models, but what brought your attention to franchising? How did you fall into it?
So it's funny, obviously I knew nothing about franchising at all. And I just, I knew about McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts. And I used to be like, man, it's like, I remember I was having a conversation with a friend at the time, and I was telling him, I'm going to start this business and I'm going to franchise it. And he laughed at me and he was like, what are you even saying? Like, you realize how hard that is to do? Like, well, that just so you know, after that day, I never spoke to that person ever again.
Yeah.
Because I don't surround myself with people like that. And that person did actually reach out recently. I just bought an 18,000 square foot building, for my parents' dining rooms, is staring at basements for 15 years. And he reached out, and, he was one of those, who was like, oh, I always knew you were going to do it. I don't have time for this.
I don't believe that. I don't remember any of that inspiration.
Unbelievable. But anyway, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to start this business and franchise it. And what I've always loved about franchising, and I continue to prove, my beliefs correct, is you get to surround yourself with great people, other great people. And if you think you have all the answers, you're wrong. And no one builds anything great alone. You have to do it with a great team. And if you look at some of the biggest franchises in the world, some of the greatest ideas and concepts they've rolled out have been from their franchise partners. And I just, that used to get me really excited. And that's kind of how I got into it and started looking at it. And then, it's like a new world, right? And you think it's so big, franchising, but when you actually get involved in it, everybody knows everybody. And everyone's willing to help each other. It's the best community ever. I've made such great friends with the franchising world. And, I'm very happy I went that route.
Yeah, no, I love hearing that part of the story. That's just amazing. And, look, I tell people all the time, even McDonald's, you mentioned, the filet of fish and the Big Mac were created by franchisees.
And the dollar menu from McDonald's.
And the dollar menu. That, franchising is truly all about collaboration. So myself being a franchise broker, I hear it from people all the time, my candidates, my clients that say things like, well, what's the difference between owning something that I create on my own versus a franchise? And when you get to the part about being in business for yourself, but not by yourself, they tend to forget that it's not just the training team. It's not just the founder. It's not just your success coach or franchise business consultant, whoever's assigned to you. It's the whole brotherhood and sisterhood of franchisees around you that are supporting you because you have one common goal. You're not worried about, as an independent owner, you're always worried about everything because you're completely by yourself on an island, unless you pay for it, that help, right?
Yep.
So let's talk about as you get started, everyone always hears about how important it is your first franchisees. So in the early days, you get your franchise disclosure document, you're all legal. And what year was that?
That was in 2014.
2014. And then selling those first, onboarding those first few franchisees. What was that selection process like? What, if anything, has changed over the years?
Oh my God, what has changed? A lot has changed. So it's the last week in December of 2013. We're just getting ready to get approved for franchising. I have been running my business at this point for about 8 years, my corporate territory, and I never took one vacation. My wife and I are just about to have our first son. She's pregnant, like 4 months pregnant, and she wants to take a vacation Christmas week. She wants to go to Cabo. I was very scared to do it. I didn't even actually want to even go. But I ended up going on vacation. It's the first trip I took in 8 years. And, I'm now approved for franchising, start of January, and I'm, everyone, then again, you have those people like, how are you going to sell your first one? That's got to be impossible. And if you actually look at some of these stats, Lance, how many brands are actually, they franchise and they never even sell one?
Yes.
The numbers are crazy. Like it's like 60% or something. It's like the number's super high. I don't know if it's that high, but I remember reading it. It's very high. But so I love brownies, just so you know. I love a good gooey fudgy brownie. And this hotel had the best brownies in the world. Lance, I had a plate like, I'm not even joking, like this big. Like
you deserved it, Josh. First vacation in 8 years.
And I'm going back to my table, and some gentleman looks at me and he's like, you're eating all that? And I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. He's like, well, how do you look like that and eat like that? I was like, well, I don't eat like this all the time, but I'm on vacation. I'm enjoying myself, like 1 week's not going to kill me. I take care of myself. We start talking. And he's like, what do you do for a living? I was like, oh, I run this company. We just started franchising. He's like, man, my son would love this. So now we go back to the table. Turns out my wife was already talking to his wife because we were sitting right next to each other, and they're both teachers. So they're already talking. He FaceTimes his son, Sam. Now at this point, I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? Right. So I run up to my room to get my iPad because that's where the FDD is. Right. And I call the person who's helped me, the attorney and all that. I'm like, Lance, it was like, I think it was like 11 o'clock at night, right? And the one thing I loved about this one individual is he's just a nut. Like he'll pick up the phone anytime. I'm like, what do I do? He's like, all right, take a deep breath. He's like, you can show it to him, you can email it to him, have him sign this page. Like I didn't know anything at the time, right?
Yep.
2 weeks later, we closed our first franchise.
That is one of the best stories I ever heard.
Yeah. So, but it gets better. So then, I just keep driving and driving. So then I pitched that story to Entrepreneur, got a full page story, a free full page story in the magazine, how I sold the first one. sold the next 3 from that. And then it took off like a freaking wildfire.
You've definitely heard the expression, with franchising, with anything, momentum. It's all about momentum.
So listen, it's all about momentum, but I don't want people to get this wrong, because you will have lots of problems. Pressure makes diamonds, right? And at the end of the day, if you think it's going to be easy, it's easy to say, it's not easy to do, and there's lots of problems along the way, but that's pretty much how it started. And I went from my parents' dining room to a very small office. The first office I had, it was so funny. And this is also something I tell people all the time. You should never take advice from people who haven't done something successful or you trust. Because I remember my wife telling me at the time, Josh, do not leave your parents' dining room. Are you crazy? You're going to pay $1,000 for rent. Like, I'm thinking now, like $1,000 then was so much to me. Like, I think about it now, it's like a joke, $1,000, right?
Yeah.
But the office was so small that, Lance, if you would pull the chair back a little bit, I squeezed 3 desks in one area. You knock like dominoes, everything over on all the tables. Then I had our conference room, which was really like, you could barely even fit 2 people in this room. And I squished this table in there with like 4 chairs. You had to move out a chair just to close the door. It was so tiny, but I sold franchises from there. Then we moved to our next office, which was a little bit bigger. And then I ended up taking over another office next to that. And now I just, bought this building. But this is a matter of, this is over 15 years, right? Like, people don't understand. And I've only been honestly franchising. I'm not going to count 2020, but really just 7 years. So we're in our 7th year technically. So we're really just getting started. And it takes, a good decade for anything to really become successful and create momentum. But that's how it all started.
Absolutely. That's such a great story. So let's talk a little bit about your process and who would make, who are you looking for? Who is the best GYMGUYZ franchisee?
Great. So if most people think it's a trainer, that's the first thing they think, and it's not, right? It's not a trainer. We are looking for people with sales background, marketing background, people who understand what it takes to manage a team, people who understand leadership. Leadership is the number one most important thing, and honestly, in any business, but especially in our business. You got to be able to lead your team. You have to inspect what you expect. That's very, very important. And, look, it helps if you have experience as a manager in a club. But, this is a very different business. It's not a brick and mortar business. And this is why our business model, is so sexy. And the reason why we're selling like crazy and growing like crazy is because, people see it, that this is the future. Look, we live in an Amazon world. Everything's about convenience. And I'm sure you ordered off Amazon the last hour, the last day, the last week, or
yesterday I did.
There you go, because that's the world we live in, and that's not going to change. It's only going to continue to get even more convenient. And in a way, companies like Amazon and DoorDash, they help our company because it continues to train the consumer behavior to like want it to them, and that's obviously helpful to us.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. So how many locations do you have, or how many franchisees do you have now?
We have 168 locations, and we service about 1,000 cities in the US, Canada, and the UK.
I love, you've already made it to the Canada and the UK. It's amazing. So let's say all these years later, you think about your top 10%, your best franchisees, the brain trust, so to speak. What did they do specifically before? Is it a wide variety of people? We know they weren't all trainers.
Yep. It's a mix of everything, to be honest with you. And listen, I'm going to give you the facts right now. Successful people move faster, talk faster, have energy, don't take no for an answer. And just like I'm hoping everyone who's listening to this brushes their teeth twice a day, right? I hope so. Okay, right? And you brush it if it rains, you brush it if it's sunny, thunderstorm, snowstorm, you brush your teeth, right?
Absolutely.
Same rules apply in business. If people think motivation is what's going to get them there, motivation is the biggest bunch of nonsense ever. Motivation will last for about 5 seconds. You have to be disciplined every single day. People wonder why, Michael Jordan's Michael Jordan, or Kobe Bryant's Kobe Bryant, or Wayne Gretzky's Wayne Gretzky. All they would do is shoot that ball and that puck over and over and over and over again.
Yep.
Practice makes permanence. And the top people in the system, they don't stop. they're also involved in everything. They're at every single conference. They're on every single call. They ask questions. They're always interested, right? They want to learn. Look, I got people in this business making 7 figures, and you remember, you're in a business model that doesn't have a lot of expenses. You have higher profit margins, which is the key, because you have no brick and mortar. But business is not easy. I literally tell people, when I get on a CEO call, before people come to the point where they're going to buy, and again, I shouldn't say buy, because we award franchises. We do not sell them. We award them. I want the right people in this system. It's great to do this, but let me tell you something. I learned this a long time ago. Quality is much better than quantity. Okay.
Absolutely.
You can have 500 people doing $100,000 a year, or you can have, 200 people doing $2 million a year. Right. Yep. So that's very important. But at the end of the day, what I really see in the top franchise partners is they're never satisfied. They always want more. And that is really one of the most important things. It's key. And, and again, leadership, not everyone has leadership abilities from day one, but the key is you have to be okay with being uncomfortable. If you're not going to be okay with being uncomfortable, you're never going to get comfortable. And fear is the greatest indicator that you should do it. Like, every time I'm scared of something, I go, there's my clue, right? Success leaves clues. It's so real, that saying. It's so real. I've heard that a long time ago, and it's so true, because it's like a game. You just have to be able to play and understand. You just don't quit.
Yeah. But, you're dropping so much knowledge here. I'm loving it. And it's amazing that success leaves clues is something that I've said often as well. And that's the beauty. When people are fearful, they can talk to you. They can talk to your existing franchisees through the validation process and start to understand what's the best way to cure fear. Is not only doing it, but it's going through the process and getting educated and realizing I got to do that. And, look, to use a fitness sort of analogy, aren't people, hey, if a guy gets to 400 pounds and he hasn't worked out his entire life, or maybe since, elementary school, isn't he scared of what that first day is going to be like? But at the end of the day, you think of what the goal is, right? That's all it is. Fitness, health, wealth, it's all the same. Let's talk about, all right, let's talk about the investment level. You mentioned, we know there's money to be made in this business. You wouldn't have the growth that you do, franchisees, some doing, 7 figures. What is the investment? What's on this van? Give kind of a day in the life of what a GYMGUYZ franchisee does.
Yeah. Well, the investment's from 66,000 to 166, and that's just the difference between territories. And pretty much 95%, everyone does 3 territories because it's growth opportunity, and that that would leave you at the 166 range. But day in a life, it depends on how you're coming into the business. Some people come into the business semi-passive, but they do have someone else involved who's got skin in the game, a little bit more money to bring to the table, and others come in as an owner operator. And and honestly, it's the great thing about what we do here is we do so much for our franchise partners. Like, some of my billion-dollar friends that are in the franchise world, they tell me we do way too much. But you know what? I want people to be able to work on their business, not in their business. So, we recently started an HR program, and obviously, due to joint employer, you can't actually hire, but we've taken over that whole process. We pick out all the rock stars, screen them, vet them, source them. We create all the relationships with the largest, the largest personal training certification companies in the world. And we literally then give it to them on a silver platter and say, here's 10 people, pick who you want. Like, we make it that.
I love it.
If calls don't get answered by the 3rd ring, they come to our world headquarters here. I don't have sales pros answering the phone. I got sales animals answering the phone, booking the assessments, putting it on their schedule. Eventually, we're going to roll that into a call center, which makes it even easier. And, look, at the end of the day, for you to hire a secretary, you're going to pay $55,000, $60,000 alone just to do something like that. We're going to take that off the plate. The B2B has been growing like crazy. We're going to get a lot of big accounts. We just closed a very big account that I can't disclose on here due to NDA, but it's one of the biggest in the world, and it's bringing in a lot of revenue. And when a franchise
corporate wellness type thing.
Correct. Yes.
Love it.
And when a franchise partner starts and they get open in 8 weeks, they start with a plate, right? Just an empty plate. But then you pull one of these partnerships on the plate. You pull another one, the senior homes, assisted living facilities, condos, daycares, all this stuff we're continuing to do to grow and scale. that's where it's at, right? That's what's going to really, really, really skyrocket and obviously help them grow.
So Josh, back to the age-old question. Why do I need a franchise? Boy, if you can't figure it out with Gym Guys, you got a problem, right?
Listen, I have so many people tell me, oh, I could just do this on my own. You know what I say? Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. People think that they can do it on their own. Listen, we also do all the marketing. All the marketing. You're responsible for owning the community and putting out materials in your market and building relationships, but we do all that for you. And if you want to make money, let me tell you, you need to spend money. And we have it so dialed down to the T where we'll say, listen, you want to get 20 leads a month, 30, 40, 50, here's what you have to spend. The system works. All you got to do is follow it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the system. So when I, as a broker or anybody brings you a lead, a potential franchisee, let's talk about a little bit about your process, when they get the FDD, when they get to review that, unit economics, validation, however you do it, meet the team day.
Yep. Sure. So it's a 6-step process. And the first call is an intro call. And we want to find out their why. Why do they want to do this? What's their why? That's the number one most important thing. Going after we kind of figure that out, we go through a welcome presentation, giving them a little overview of the brand. Once that call is done, we'll send out a request for consideration. So, again, we don't sell franchise, we award them. So we send out that request. We want to make sure, you fill all that information out and you actually get it back to us in a timely fashion. Because if you don't, that's a red flag to me, right? If you don't fill out the form, trust me, we're not coming after you because I'm not going to bring you in the system because that shows some characteristics that I don't like to see from day one.
Right.
After we get that form back, we review it. We set up another call. We review the FDD. Send out the FDD, go through the FDD, then we give them some time to review that FDD. After they review that FDD, we then have a CEO call. So I will jump on a call, whether it's one-on-one or with multiple new possible franchise partners, answer their questions, give them a story about how we started, where we are, where we're headed, how we're going to get there, talk about worldwide domination and helping people and changing lives, because that's what we're all about. And then from there, they speak to some of our franchise partners. They go through validation, right? Talk to some owners, and again, ask those questions that they want to get some answers on, because some things we're not able to disclose. It's better getting it from the franchise partner. That goes well. They come for a team day and then we sign them, get them up and running in 8 weeks.
I love it. So, I want to go back to, you mentioned asking them about their why, and you kicked off the show today talking about, certain characteristics you like and you need to have in people, and why, you had an awful experience as an employee, as I did, which is why I became my own boss.
Yep.
So when you're asking people about their why, I mean, I'm assuming most of them are like, I hate my job. I hate my boss. I hate the fact that I'm controlled by someone else. I mean, what are those common answers you hear?
Yeah, sometimes they are, not to shift this for a second, but it's like, we have such an amazing culture here at my headquarters and my corporate team. It's not even normal. And I'm gonna make more millionaires here than anyone's ever done in the business. That's one of my missions. That's going to happen. And people don't understand, you can be an entrepreneur and you can be an intrapreneur, and they both can be very, very successful. And sometimes, the intrapreneur is more like the franchise partner, not as much risk, right? Because the system's in place. Yes, you're going to have to deal with challenges and stress and all that. But when you surround yourself with other great people and you bring them in, that's how you're going to be able to really build a strong foundation, great business. But things I typically hear, it ties a lot into that culture. I worked here at this company for 15 years and no one ever asked me how I was doing or, how I feel, or they don't even know my children's name. I know everything about every one of my team members, and I actually do want to talk to them about it. I do care. And I also have a lot of fun here. The reason my podcast and my book is named Fuel Your Drive, all that, is because fuel is the 4 pillars of success: fun, unity, earnings, and leadership. And we're going to break them down in a second. And then you have drive. Obviously, you're not driving anywhere without fuel. Drive, those are our core values. Everyone has to embody them: determination, respect, integrity, versatility, and excellence. Now, when you break down fuel, the first one is fun. Can you run a business without having fun?
Heck no.
If you
I don't want to, but can you? Of course you could.
If you try to, you're going to end up in that stat I gave you, about 85% of people that drive to work every day miserable.
Yeah.
We have lots of fun. Laser tag, dodgeball, renting out the movies, kickboxing events, fitness event. Well, we do all types of crazy stuff. For Halloween, we're having a huge party, right? Like we do fun things. We laugh a lot. We have a great time because you could work hard, but you got to play hard too. And you got to have a good time. So fun can't go. Next one, unity. Teamwork makes the dream work. If there's no teamwork, it's never going to work. Next one, earnings. If you're not making money, that's not going to work. And the last one is leadership. Good leaders will create other good leaders. You must lead by example. And I use my kids as an example all the time. My kids are young, and I don't tell them to do anything. They just watch me every day, and they put out the garbage. My son, he knows the license plate numbers to the vans. It's just crazy, but he just follows what I do, and he's got great energy. And I remember back in the day when I was in school, teachers used to say I was so hyper, I wouldn't sit still, I wouldn't stop talking. Well, let me tell you something. A closed mouth will never get fed. And if you don't have energy, you don't have anything. And you're not going to be able to sell. You're not going to be able to get people excited. Energy is contagious. Energy is important. And you want to be successful, you better start working on that.
Yeah. No, I love your energy. I always have. So that is, just keep doing what you're doing. Let's talk numbers now.
Yes.
A lot of people listening that are interested in franchise business, they're hearing you, they're loving your energy, loving culture, loving everything. So numbers, obviously you have people that are doing incredibly well within GYMGUYZ. How do you break that down?
Yeah, so we break it down average revenue per trainer. So what a full-time trainer could bring in, and it's around 177,000 per trainer in gross sales. Average locations have anywhere from 5 to 10 trainers. I got some locations that have over 30, right? Wow. So just, put those numbers together and you'll figure
30 trainers. That's amazing. And is that like one city, or is that?
That's actually in 4 territories.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. But the numbers are powerful, but you got to drive your business. You got to drive your business every single day. And, I'm sure people listen to me, they get excited, they get motivated. The problem is, and here's where I'm going to call you out, is you don't take action. No, You're waiting for like the perfect day. You want it to be sunny with a 72 degrees out and the flowers blooming and all the birds chirping. It doesn't work like that.
Yep.
The time is now. Like I actually have in the process, we make this very clear. Once you're awarded, you have 7 days to sign and fund. Obviously willingly everything's in place and you're good to go. If you don't, we part ways and you're friends, because that tells me right there, you don't know how to make a decision. And if you don't know how to make a decision, that's going to hurt you in business severely. So, I've learned that the hard way, because, obviously I've had challenges along the way, and, you can't get to the other side without eating the dirt. You can't get to the other side without enduring the pain. And this is why I'm a big believer in suffering every day. I use fitness as that. I do things that most people would probably end up in a hospital with. And I've trained myself over the years, whether it's my cardio, whether it's my ice baths, my insane heated saunas I do all types of crazy stuff. But I believe when you suffer like that, and it's 30, 40 minutes of your day of pure suffering. For me, it's about 2 hours every day. But when someone walks in on a Monday morning without giving you 2 weeks and quits, does it really bother you? No, because you're so strong here. This is where it's all at. And I will tell you right now, your mindset's 80% of everything. 80% of everything. And people think they need to be the most brilliant, smartest person in the world and have all these abilities and be super book smart. Let me tell you something. Sometimes the people who are the most smartest are not as successful as they could be. Why? Because they think things through way too much.
Yes.
I fire, aim, ready. Most people like to go ready, aim, fire. I've closed some of the biggest deals in my life, Lance, with just telling them absolutely. And I didn't even know what the hell I was doing. I figured it out after.
Yeah. What's the old expression about a typical entrepreneur jumps out of a perfectly good airplane holding the parachute and puts it on as he's going down?
That's it. And
he builds it.
And it's the truth, it's the truth. But, have I had severe days of suffering and, sitting in a casino one night, almost putting my life savings down to make payroll? I could tell you the craziest stories in the world of things I've gone through to get to where we are today. I literally ate cans of tuna fish every single day for 6 years straight just to save money. Like if I look at tuna fish, I actually get nauseous. I could throw up because I just can't even look at it anymore. I've ate it so much.
And look where you are now, buying an 18,000 square foot building.
That's because I'm willing to pay the price, and the problem is, being broke is hard. Being successful is hard. choose your heart.
Yeah.
It's not, you know,
well said.
It's the truth. You know, people think, you know, oh my God, this is so scary. What am I going to do? If you only knew half the things I've done, you would be like, this guy is crazy. But you know what? I'm not crazy because I believe in myself. I've double, triple mortgaged my home. I could tell you the craziest things I've done to get to where we are today. And I own 100% of my company, and I will never lose. I will never lose. And that's why we have the most amazing franchise partners, because they know that. And look, during COVID, of course I reached out. I listened to, you know, I reached out to all my top mentors, you know, people that run 100 million plus billion-dollar brands. Josh, you need to lay off 60% of your team or furlough them, or you're going out of business. I refuse to do that, because the first place I listen is right here. I listen to my heart first and my head second. Was it painful? Yeah. But what do you think my team thinks of me now? They know no matter what, we'll never lose, because I will never let it happen. I will never let it happen. And no matter how bad things get, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Are you going to die, or is it going to be like some tragic? No, you figure it out.
Yep.
That's it. And that's how you win.
And that's franchising. You know, when the shit hits the fan, like a pandemic, guess what? You got Josh York as your franchisor. You're going to be fine. Figure out how to get some PPP money. Everybody will get through. Things will be fine. I do have a fitness related question, because how could I not ask you this question? You brought up the pandemic. As we all go through the pandemic and statistics start to come out, you know, America is the most obese developed country in the world. With all of this access to fitness, why is it that that's still the case?
If you see what's happening lately in the fitness industry, you know, Peloton just laid off another 500 people. You know, the problem is these companies, and I don't like to talk bad about anybody, but
yeah,
but like at the end of the day, these companies have expiration dates, because people are naturally procrastinators. They can't turn on the app. They're not going to use the machine. The treadmill becomes a great clothing rack, or the bike, or whatever it is. People need accountability, and this is why our service is so needed, and this is why the demand's so high. Like, I look at that dashboard every day, like, Lance, it's crazy. Like, the amount of leads we get in for like clients, like sometimes like it gives me like goosebumps, because I'm like, I think back to when I started this, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of leads. It's wild.
You're in demand.
The demand is super high. And that's why I knew I was going to solve this problem. And you have to be able to solve a problem. And this is a big problem, because people don't realize that fitness can be fun, and you can make it fun, but you just need to be active. And this is the message we're delivering, in the mission to, you know, be able to change as many lives as we can and do it worldwide.
Absolutely. That's amazing. So Josh, any final thoughts? That was a wonderful final thought, but I know you got more final thoughts for the day. Any words of wisdom?
We could talk for hours, man. I could keep going. You know, look, words of wisdom. If you believe something, right, and you have a feeling that you want to do something, you just do it. Okay, you just do it. You don't question it. You don't do it. I always like to say, you can cut out a piece of paper and put it over the dial of your watch and write NOW, because the time is always now. And it should always be now, and you should always take action. And, you know, the ones who sit around and just wait, someone like me is going to come in and eat your meal. So take action, believe in yourself, and it's just very simple. Just don't quit. That's it. Just don't quit, and don't pay attention to the noise out there. Don't pay attention to how this one's doing or how this one's doing, because at the end of the day, everyone's journey is different. Focus on yourself, and great things will happen.
Love it. Great way to end it. The time is now. Josh York, founder, CEO of GYMGUYZ.
Thank you, Lance,
for being here, Josh.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for listening today. Please like, follow, and subscribe. This is Lance Graulich. Until next time.